r/AskReddit, what's the worst thing you have witnessed on a bachelor/bachelorette party? Not really on par with worst things, like I've read in the comments thus far, but was still pretty funny in retrospect. Our group arrived in Vegas for some pre-scheduled debauchery and drinking at a strip club. The groom's best man decides to get a dance in the champagne room. He comes back, and we head out to gamble and drink some more before retiring to the hotel room. Next morning, while recovering from our collective hangovers, the best man's right eye was as red and puffy like a souffle. He told us the stripper used his face as washboard during his time with her. The doctor told him he had gotten crabs in his eyebrow somehow, and they made their way down to his eye. Needless to say, he didn't play the part of best man. We still haven't allowed him to live that down. Made their way down to his eye. No. I watched my boss, covered in lube, being ridden around the club like a horse by a stripper with a belt around his neck acting as the reins. Safe to say our office dynamic has altered somewhat. I went to a bachelor party not more than a month ago. Same story minus lube. Before that though, they beat his ass with a belt. The more dollars you're through, the harder they hit. I spent a lot of dollars, and it was glorious. At the bachelor party I went to, the stripper was beating the groom's ass with a belt, but she was doing it so hard we had to pay her to stop. At the wedding he could barely walk, ass was black and blue. The best man got pissed drunk at breakfast and ate an entire banana without peeling it, and I've questioned if there is a god ever since. This is the worst one. When I left a wedding reception to go to another event, I asked my friends to watch out for my younger brother. My friends were drunk and they dared my brother to go knock on some limo's window that drove by. He did. Then he ran away. Then a bunch of girls opened the door and told him to come back. So he did. Then the limo drove off with my brother in it. It was a bachelorette party. My friends freaked out because they were supposed to watch my brother and he just hopped in some stranger's car that drove away. The girls in the car got my brother to eat a lifesaver off the bachelorette's nipple. Then they showed him a picture of the huge guy she was marrying the next day. He was scared for a week some guy was going to find him and beat him up. I couldn't stop laughing at my friends freaked out because they were supposed to watch my brother and he just hopped in some stranger's car that drove away. My buddy's bachelor party was set to be pretty tame. No strip clubs or casinos or anything like that. He just wanted to get these massive burgers from the local burger joint walking distance from his condo and play Mario Kart 64. So after we had all stuffed our faces from these ridiculous Mondo burgers, we sat down, divided up the teams, and each person would drain one beer per lap, then exchange controllers. Every single person ended up puking immediately. Once the toilet, sink, and kitchen sink were full, people were throwing up all over the place, running around looking for the least damaging spot to spew. It was obscene. I've been playing Mario Kart wrong all these years. I was dinged for my friend's bachelor party. I jammed 4 drunk Marines into a 2013 Yaris, and we hit the road. Eventually we ended up at a seedy strip club. Things are going okay. Drinks were surprisingly affordable, and we were the only people in the joint. Eventually a different dancer stumbles through the door and is aggressively trying to get someone to buy a dance from her. Nobody is interested as she was definitely not on the A squad. She talks my buddy and his younger brother into seeing a trick and proceeds to without warning squirt a bottle of water up her vagina and then spray it on them. Edit. No, not the driftwood. They had all finished their service. So glad this got asked. I was at my buddy's bachelor party in Montreal. His thing was relatively tame. However, as we are walking from the strip club to the bar, we end up behind a bunch of college girls who came up from the States to drink. They're all dressed in their club gear and completely hammered. I see one particularly wobbly young woman wearing incredibly high heels. She takes a misstep and rolls her ducking ankle so bad her shin touches the sidewalk. She straight up broke her leg, but was so drunk she kept on trucking. I run up to one of the more sober looking members of her group, and I'm like, your friend just broke her leg. Unfortunately she and her friends think I'm trying to pick them up. I'm like, I'm married and 10 years older than you, but you should probably take care of your friend. Meanwhile the injured woman's leg is already swelling up. Also, at my bachelor party, the strip club we went to ended up being the venue for the Macro Wrestling Federation, so instead of boobers I got little person wrestling. My friends also got a store clerk to detain me for shoplifting as a prank. Excuse me, your friend's leg is broke. I have a boyfriend. We had an ongoing rule through the weekend that if you were holding a pint and someone managed to get a nominated coin into it, you had to down it immediately. It was, I think, a Brazilian real. Whatever it was a big old coin. Significant diameter and a good sturdy thickness. Anyway, one of the chaps ended up swallowing the coin along with the beer. I'll never forget the look of realization on his face. And I can imagine the other look on his face a couple of days later. Had a friend hit $250k on a $5 slot machine at a Shreveport casino on his bachelor party 2 weeks before the ceremony. With his newfound wealth, he decided to ask his fiancée to sign a prenup. She refused. She had referred to it as our money from the first moment she heard the good news. And so, he walked away. Everyone hated him for it. He was practically excommunicated from all our social circles. 10 years later, and she's filed bankruptcy twice. In hindsight, he made the right decision. Girl I went to high school with didn't want her husband to have some random stripper at his party that will probably give him some disease. So instead she got her little sister, 20 at the time, to dance at the party instead. Not because she could trust her sister to not screw her husband, but because she knew her sister didn't have any diseases. Yeah. Little sister stripped, then gave him a BJ, then got on top and ducked him in front of all the other guys. We just watched in silence. It wasn't erotic, but more of a curiosity. Did her sister know? Yup. At the end we were silent and in disbelief. The little sister looked at us and said, "What? Bride knows. She told me it would be okay." This isn't going to be anywhere near as horrific as what I'm sure most people will have to say here, but my friend invited an absolute scumbag to her hen party about 7 years ago. Her reputation was that she was trash, but she showed up like a different person and was actually very nice the whole night. She was on her best behavior, buying rounds of drinks, showing a genuine interest in conversations, the whole works. She even offered to look after the coats and bags while we got up to dance. Halfway through the first song we all turned around to find her rifling through everyone's belongings. She locked eyes with us while she had one hand full of banknotes and the other full of someone's cigarettes. She wasn't at the wedding. Wow. Whole party got drunk. Best man admitted to having slept with the bride. Massive bar fight followed. Groom lost one of his front teeth. The wedding still happened, but he kept his mouth shut in all the pictures. Best man was nowhere to be seen, and the title was given to the groom's other brother. We went paintballing in the afternoon, and at one point the groom was laying down sniping when a kid snuck up behind him and just unloaded on the groom's ass. Which would be hilarious, but the paintball found its way to groom's ballsack. It swelled up like an orange and he wasn't able to go to the strip club that night, nor consummate the wedding the following day. 16 years later, and his wife's still pretty pissed about it even though the rest of us think it's pretty hilarious in hindsight. Edit. Well, this blew up like nutshot. Why do people have bachelor parties a day before? It's courting tragedy. It was a combo bachelor and bachelorette party, and one attendee got really drunk and wanted to leave. The hosts had collected everyone's keys to prevent drunk driving and refused to return his keys he'd willingly given up earlier. He goes outside and shortly returns with a tire iron and just starts wailing on guests at the party including bridesmaids and groomsmen. One of the other attendees grabs a big 6-cell mag light and clocks the aggressor over the head with it, killing him. No charges got filed because it was deemed justified, and the wedding went on as planned a few days later. I felt bad for the bride and groom because no amount of makeup was going to hide the bruises and missing teeth in the wedding photos. Holy shit, that's intense. This dude just starts hitting people with a tire iron. That would be terrifying. And he ended up dead. Holy hell, what a night to remember. Don't think he remembers, to be fair. Not the party, but the wedding reception. Fraternity brother couldn't afford hard liquor for his wedding, so he only had beer. Me and 5 other brothers who were invited spent about $600 on liquor at Costco. Every last drop was gone and everyone got drunk. No kids allowed. We only have a video to remember it, but I only remember waking up with a bridesmaid in a garage totally naked. Someone was in a boat totally naked. The bride and groom, super outdoorsy people, pitches a tent, and tried to camp. One of the groomsmen wandered out of the forest at noon naked, and confused and still drunk. I have some regrets. That night is most of them. Edit, spelling. Edit, I should mention there was one bottle we didn't drink. The bride's very drunk grandma took our bottle of tequila and said we couldn't drink it because tequila is when the clothes come off. As you can tell, clothes still came off. Hey, what is up guys, Daniel here. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. More content is coming. Stay tuned.